Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Dixon from Paranormal Path. I did my first ghost hunt in 2003. I used to watch a TV show, Don't Laugh, Most Haunted. And then after that series, I then, with my husband, decided to do a New Year's resolution to find out if ghosts existed. Silly thing, but I'm still trying to prove it. Had loads of experiences since. But this is one part of my journey, really. I have a lot of different things what I've witnessed, and I haven't got a lot of evidence for it. Okay, who am I? So for that bit, I watched Most Haunted. I've got a group called Paranormal Path and a page as well. I do podcasts on a Monday between 8 and 9:30 on Paranormal Path, YouTube and Facebook. Hope to get out on Spotify. And I've been doing that for about 5 years. So I've spoken to a lot of people in the field and spoken to these two guys. And yeah, I just like meeting people. It doesn't matter if they're on TV. Doesn't matter if they aren't. I'm not bothered because everybody has a paranormal story. So we'll go on to my early experiences. So in 2003, when I did put my first ghost hunts, I went to the National Justice Museum. I thought it was a load of rubbish, but we sort of, we were trying to see what we could get. And that was the first ghost hunt. It cost about £100 at the time. They're really expensive. I think it was with a company called Fright Nights. And I was scared to death because you didn't know what to expect. But I knew that place. I knew it was a courtroom because in the 1980s, when I was at college, I went to watch the beginning of a trial there. So it's weird to watch a trial and then years later go back and it's a haunted location. So that was intriguing. I had a little bit of experience as a ladies' room where the pregnant prisoners were put into. My ex sat on the bed and he started crying, saying he felt really ill. Unlucky. He then wouldn't go back in the room and started getting mouldy. That was funny. We then went into an area near the cave, near the oubliette, and we sat in what they call a chapel now. And we're just sitting on the floor in the darkness, as you do, and I heard footsteps of a cat padding on the floor. And I know what that sounds like because I had cats. And then my ex and the person next door to him got a torch, put it on the same spot at the same time. And that was really my first encounters. I didn't call it paranormal. It was just one of them things I didn't want to admit, I don't think. Next one. I also went to Derby Jail that night. That time, there's a guy there called Jason Carl. I booked onto that. Richard Felix wasn't there that night, but I've actually hosted a lot there now and met Richard countless times. But that night, we were lucky, a few of us, we stood in that cell, held hands, and the medium was just going on this story, blah, 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 blah. And then I smelt this cigarette smoke, which I'd never encountered before. It wasn't like what I'd experienced, but I knew it was some sort of smoking. And then he said, somebody's entered the room who's smoking. But wow, So it wasn't power of suggestion, I got it. Okay, next. So after that, I started booking on to ghost hunts, occasionally, public ones. And I started going to a lot of Nottingham ones because they're local. Next one. So these are the Nottingham ones, which I know of quite well. So the Robin Hood Legacy, that was an amazing place. Sadly, it's gone now. But it was really weird because I went to a lot of investigations there. And then I was supposed to go, I was in a team at the time who were appalling. And they couldn't sell the tickets, but in the end we went on a private. So I was with two guests. She took two mates and then cleared off and left me on my own. So I went with the two guests down to the cellar, and all of a sudden, I did my first bit of mediumship. There's nothing to quantify it, and I picked up on this little girl. And this little girl, I was getting the information, and one of the people had dowsing rods, and they're getting the yes answers, and I always throw in a wrong question. So I'm getting the info, but I'll throw something in wrong just to check they're doing it right. And it turned out what I got was that Liz's little girl used to get sent down there when she was upset. And she got upset because her mum and dad argued. And one day, the little girl saw her mum get thrown down the stairs. So the next time I actually went to that location, it was with a events group. And they said, oh, there's loads of activity. I arrived, nothing happened. Apart from this bloke stomping. And he was just stomping up the stairs, and that's all we're getting all night. At 5 a.m. in the morning, it's due to finish at 6, I says, oh, are you this person's dad? It went absolutely crazy then. But then we went to the old salutation, we picked up on him. Same guy, same name. He was called John. And he used to run a prostitutes ring down there. Also involved in cockfighting, things like that. And oddly enough, we went to the old trip to Jerusalem. Once again, the name came out and bits of information. So you sort of drew a picture about him. And back in the day, he could have lived up there. That was around. Those two pubs were around. Next one. And we also picked up on him on the National Justice Museum. I decided to do a first past life regression. I didn't want to do one. I was scared in case I was going to be a serial killer or something. Because you think, if you're going to get bad news, how can you ever live with it? Because if you are a serial killer, you can research that person. And how would your head deal with that in this life? But one night, I wasn't doing much, thought I haven't got ghosts, I want to go out. So I booked to go to Derby Jail. And Denise Mott was doing a past life regression. It was a group one. And basically, I was picking up on this girl who actually lived near to where the Robin Hood legacy is. This was in the 1300s. She went to the castle. She was a peasant. She sold fruit. And her claim to fame, her proudest moment, was when she won a competition and her bread was the best bread made, and the king had decided that. And that gave me the king's name so that I could check the details. I could also check on the structure of the castle at the time. There's quite a few facts which came out, which then I was able to check back into history, which I didn't previously know. So it's weird that, I'm in Nottingham now. I was there in the 1300s, and I actually got killed when Richard the Crusade came back, and basically his soldiers came back, swiped right across everyone's neck in his path, and that was the end of me. And one thing to the modern day I take with this, I've got an issue about holding fruit because it's sticky. I don't like fruit because it's sticky. Well, if I was a peasant selling fruit, that could be why I've got that weird thing. Could explain it. So next one, the podcast. So I go back to the John and the Galleries of Justice where I met this person. And I kept meeting him at different locations. And one of the people on there is a medium. She says, I think you got hung at the Galleries of Justice. And she just randomly said it to start to tell the story about, why does this guy keep popping up? And he sort of, he found people guilty so that the executioner would sort them out. He took great pride in that. He didn't have to be guilty, but he liked it and he had to deal with the executioner. So good for him. But it was just weird how it's mentioned on that podcast. You were probably hung at the galleries. And it's like, oh, okay. Or National Justice Museum too. Next. So about 2 years ago, I did another past life regression. And I was in Nottingham. I was a young lad, born in Nottingham, had a great family. But then my father died. And then I think I sort of got into the bad world, the harsh world. And it's sort of the times in the past life regression where I went behind a bar, bought a bottle of something like hooch, and there I was in my past life regression, like walking down the street, absolutely hammered. Also, cockfighting came out. Also, I worked for the judge, and other things happened. And it was quite interesting to get that information. And right at the end of that, I was sitting there in the galleries of justice, waiting to be sentenced by the judge. And the time period is the same, the 1800s, as to what this John has been coming through as at the other locations. So that was my first, like, oh, there's something going on here, but I don't know. We just carry on to the next slide. So I got the information, what I had of John and of my past life. And there's a lady called Mandy West, and she's now opened up a limited company called Haunted Historian, and she researches information. And when I was at the salutation, we had a trance medium, and he actually brought a lot of information through about this Judge John. We actually got him to say his name, and under a lot of duress, he said John Black, okay? So I gave a lot of information to this lady, the rough dates and everything. She looked into the history about that time, and there was a judge at that time called John Blackburn, and he was actually known for sentencing people, and it's very dark, and often, you know, it was capital punishment in those days. So it was interesting, but then when I did that first past life regression, second one, I was sitting in the court, and I pulled myself out because I didn't want to know what my ending was, but I knew somehow I was going to be found guilty. But after about 2 months, she actually messaged me, and she said, I think something about the cave system is to do with you. So I just texted, said, yeah, there's caves everywhere in Nottingham, you know, it's right underneath. Then I went FFS. And that moment, I actually realised that I was thrown down the oubliette in a past life. And after that, it just seemed a lot of pressure went away from me, and I just felt really different. So I don't know. Next one. What I can say, and also in defence of this, I did a lot of investigations at places, and there's a lady who's a great medium called Rachel Farrow, and I'd sort of go along to there, the Galleries of Justice, and she said, oh, you've got a man with you. And I said, oh, who's that? She says, you've got the judge with you. Okay, well, she wouldn't even know. She didn't even know this story, which was odd. But we went to the weird shop. Now, that weird shop is a location in an area which I've really been interested in. And I don't know why, but something happened in the history in Nottingham, which has always fascinated me, and I don't know why. So in 1963, a gentleman, a landlord, was actually murdered outside his pub. So he finished trading at night, about 12 o'clock, took the dog for a walk, and then was just murdered outside his pub. It's actually still a cold case, and it's now about 61 years since the murder. Yeah. And I went to the weird shop, and then the lady says to me, why have you got the judge with you? What's he doing here? And it was just like, well, I don't know what's going on here. So I did a lot of investigations there. And basically, I wanted to find out who the murderer was. And I invited different mediums along. I invited Andy Moore. He managed to draw a picture of George, who got murdered. And he managed to get different information. And of just getting different people in blindly, not telling them one bit of information. I'd always take them to the pub across the road. We'd have a meal there so they can see if they could pick anything up. And I wouldn't say anything, and then just see what they got. And I sort of interviewed him as well. And I sort of said, well, what are you getting? And I've got footage of him like coming out with a name. He got George, and then it took him a while, but then he got the Wilson. And other people went there And then we seem to get a lot of the dark history of that place as well, where it was a butcher, but the butcher did more than just butchers, because back in the day, women who were pregnant couldn't get, they had problems sometimes, didn't they, and wanted abortions. And we sort of picked up on that side of things, but I was more fascinated in this George story. Anyway, it sort of continued, and then once I kind of, in a way, solved that, to as far as I was happy with it, one of my mates went along, and he went in trance. And it was like he was in the oubliette speaking to me as my former self, saying, "Get me out of here." It was horrific. And Rachel, that medium, was also there, and she picked up what was going on as well. And then the judge came through apologising to me. And back in those days, I, in my past life, worked for that judge, it seems. And it's just a bit weird that I used to investigate. This judge kept coming through. And then years later, there's a link to my past life. And I'm still trying to find out more. I was due to have 2 more past life regressions, one at the Parameet with Paul Goddard. He couldn't make it, that was cancelled. Somebody else was going to do it. But I want to know the name. I want to know the birth date. I want to know the date the person died. And it really intrigues me. And I go to a lot of investigations, and people are picking up on him, even if they don't know anything. Next. So yeah, that was a weird shop, look. It's just a shop. It's nothing. And when you go and investigate a place like that, you don't think it's got a dark history. But it's right opposite a market in Nottingham, where anybody would have gone from anywhere in the country. Crime was rife as well there. It'd be just like the docks, wouldn't it, really? So next. So, yeah, I went to the National Justice Museum, and once the judge actually got close to me in the ladies' bedroom again. And I had trouble pushing him off. I walked upstairs to the base room, and a lady who's well known in the paranormal field, she took me right out because she knew something was with me. And, it got sort of heavy at times, but whenever I do go to the National Justice Museum, it can sort of step forward sometimes. I once sat in the chair in the National Justice Museum, and I'm friends with Gary Fields. And I says to Gary, can you link in, see what's happening? So for the event, I went and sat in the judge's chair, and he messaged me to say, "You cheesed off now." He had no idea I'd done that. So go to the next one. So yeah, I've often sat in that chair. Is that me? Is that not? I don't know. But we think that in my past life, I was slung down an oubliette. That's a picture when they were doing some conversions near the galleries of National Justice Museum. They found a lot of bones down there. So back in the day, they didn't give them monkeys. They'd just murder people, wouldn't they? It's a barbaric part of our history. And the oubliette as well, 20 metres below street level, it's a dungeon. They just throw you in. They don't care. They don't want to get you out. You're never going to get out. So next. So yeah, it is to be continued. I do want sort of more evidence. I do want the names. I do want to find out. But a lot of my investigations, when I go places, this character crops up who potentially I may have worked for in a past life. I don't know why I'm stuck with that link. It's absolutely crazy. But so many people have witnessed it, been a part of it, who haven't even known the story. And they've picked up on this character. And it's only through, this has been going on about 8 years now. And it is tiring, but very intriguing. And it's a little personal project. I can't say it's paranormal. But I'm getting a lot of different bits of information. And the fact that, at that time, that medium did that trance and got the name John Black. And then we've actually found him in history. So I need to know my name. And we'll see what happens there. So next. So are there any questions? It's a bit of a creepy story. Hi.
Sorry, maybe just another thing on phone. What's a oubliette?
Oubliette. So basically places like castles. They have these dungeons. So they're just like dug out, they chuck people in. And it's like a well. You can't get out. And when my friend Phil Newton tranced, he was screaming because it was like bodies were landing on them as well. So not only, like you pick this up, but then through an investigation, you get the fact that they're there, about to go, and then they'll have others land on them. And, finding that picture of bones is quite, it kind of sums up probably what happens. I know the oubliette was discovered in 2015. Not sure quite, they do want to they're opening up the bottom caves, they're looking into them. So if they've got that far down, I don't know yet. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing. Anything else?
What made you do it? That's life
My friend was offering a free one. Hey! So my friend is Robbie Crossan, and he said, "So do you want to do something in past life regression?" So I said, "Yeah." I've actually got footage of the whole past life on there. It's not a good look, is it? When you go into sort of that position, like you're answering questions. But I have watched it back, and there's a bit where I'm drunk, and I'm like, it is funny to watch. I've released it to friends and stuff, but yeah, we're not ready for that one yet. But yeah, he's great. Robbie Crossan, definitely recommend him. Paul Goddard as well. Yeah, definitely recommend them. But yeah, you've got to be prepared because you don't know what you're going to get.
You 8 years later, you're still trying to solve it.
It's madness, isn't it? And it's like weird, like when it's weird, like when you're investigating, you keep getting these characters, and you think, well, this judge, he could have lived there. He would have worked at the galleries, or he would have gone to those two pubs. And like judges in those days, they could do gambling, they could run prostitute rings and what the hell they like, couldn't they? And they get away with it. So who was going to argue? Oh, if they didn't like it, they'd probably shut them down the oubliette. There you go. Hi.
Yeah, just do you feel this job is with you on a day-to-day basis, just when you're doing investigations or with readings?
Don't know. At once, he has been to my house. That was a bit. He sometimes turns up at investigations, sometimes not. The day that I realised that I was chucked down the oubliette, all the hairs were standing on the back of the neck. Prior to that date as well, if I ever mentioned the story, I felt that he crowded close to me. But it's been different methods, not just mediumship, different methods of picking things up. Anything, and John has been coming through, and a lot of people who investigated with me in Nottingham have sort of been subject to that, unfortunately, or whatever. But yeah, it's intriguing, and it's just, I don't call it. It's just weird, isn't it? I don't know why I'm involved in this. Has anyone else got any weird story? It's right there, isn't it? But I'm trying to do my book. I've kind of been trying to publish it for about 2 years. And it's written, but I don't know, there's just something not... I think I need an ending. It's not finished, is it? I need to know who I've got my first name, but I need to know more specific info.
Yeah.
Because Mandy West contacted me recently. I think I was speaking to her on Monday on a podcast. And she sort of said there's more to this Nottingham history, what she's picking up now. So I'm quite pleased to be catching up on her. Hi.
Do you think that finding out about past life, has it influenced your life? Like, has it become part of you? And do you wish you are you glad that you've found out about your past life?
It's weird and gruesome. oh God, my hair's standing around. Now, if you know what, if I'd have found that out before I did ghost hunting, I would have thought it a load of rubbish. That doing what we do and it's like now if I go out, it's like here we go again. It's scary, the stuff that I may have been involved in, because the history in Nottingham in that time is horrendous. I'm glad I did it after the ghost hunting rather than before, but you do kind of live with it. You kind of, I think with paranormal, they don't, or spiritual, they don't give you anything until they know that you can deal with this. So it is something that, like, loads of people have experienced this random thing. And so I continue, and I've got a public event once again, Thursday before Easter at the National Justice Museum. I hope to God he doesn't turn up there. Because when you host an event, that's a bit of an inconvenience, isn't it? But yeah, so any other questions? Yeah.
Have you ever looked genetically down your family tree, whether the person your past life is in relation to you?
Intriguing. I don't know. I'm not sure. That's a really good question. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't looked down family tree.
Something knows what to get you for Christmas then.
Well, yeah, that's an idea, but it's just weird. Like they say that people have loads of past lives. Why am I still in Nottingham? You know, 2 past lives in Nottingham and again. And I don't know. So who's done a past life here?
I won't.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I want to as well.
You've just got to be prepared to accept and live with anything you get. Because if if it turns out you're a serial killer or something like that, you've got to be able to live with that. So you've just got to, like my friend's just been told, like, never to do it. Because, like, where he's going, he keeps picking up on the same spirit in Derby and Bolton. And this is getting a bit weird for him. It's weird that we're friends because we can have a chat about.
So, do you think it's possible that while you're in your past life regression, this character manifested and it became a part of you?
Well, I don't know, but what I can say, I pulled myself out of past life regression because gosh, this is really weird. I didn't want to give him the satisfaction. Now, I don't know if in a past life regression, you're going back to that time period as that person and he is reliving, knowing he's reliving, that he's sentencing you again. So I pulled out the past life because I thought, how does time work? We don't know. I don't want to give him the benefit. That's why I pulled out the past life. But I do want to go to the grim and bitter end. I do want to prove it. I do want the evidence.
Maybe that's what you need to be both.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry. I had an experience 12 years ago when my dad passed. And I came home and I sat on a settee and everything. And I sort of went into a trance and I could see everything happening. And I knew where I was. It was 1943. I was in the invasion of Sicily. It was pitch black. And all of a sudden everything had lighted up and you can see, I could hear and see the gunfire off big ships.
Wow.
And I'm ex-military. And that really bricked me out.
Yeah.
And I went woof and I came out of it. My good lady sat there next to me, said, go back, let's just start up, find out.
Yeah.
And I let myself go back and it was instant. It was like, you know when you come out of a dream?
Yeah.
You wake up and go to the loo and you come back, you go straight back into the dream. It was like that. And I'm laid there and I can see these ships going bang, bang, boom, boom, boom. And I was looking at a guy in front of me in full kit. We were still tied to the mothership. So we're still in landing craft, we hadn't gone. We're still there. and this ship to shore bombardment was going on. And when I come back out of it, and I went, "What a bollocks." and she went, "Why?" And I went, "Well, I could see like these ships only had 3 turrets, and so most battleships and things like that are 2 and 2. So they have 2 turrets, 4 guns, 4 turrets, 4 guns, this and that. These had 3 and 3." And I went, "Nah, I've been watching the film. People told me here does the research. HMS Rodney, HMS Nelson were both at the invasion of Sicily. Guess what? It's 3 and 3.
Yeah, it's
And
incredible.
it wasn't until my dad passed, and then I spoke to my mum. Oh, that's where your uncle died.
Wow.
Really? My uncle was at the invasion of Sicily and died in the invasion of Sicily.
Jeez.
Yeah,
All you knew
yeah,
was that it was his dad's
it was my dad's oldest brother. That's all
eldest
I knew.
brother. But we just knew that he died, nothing else.
Oh,
He
you
died
never do
before.
know the details.
Well,
Yeah.
it turns out
They were born on the same day.
born on the same day, and his name's John as well. Johnny.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what he did. Yeah.
You know, so
Okay.
that's like past life thing, really. And
Could
I
be.
agree with you. That is totally scary.
Yeah.
That really is freaky.
Yeah.
But you've got to go to the end, Jackie.
Yeah, I know. Like,
The
I
conclusion.
had to bail out at the time because I didn't want to give the judge satisfaction, but it keeps coming through on investigations. Like I book private events, like as soon as that word shop, as soon as I solved what I think is solved the mystery Reed George, he kept coming through. And I think the last 2 times I was there before it was actually shut as a location, it was all about him. It's like, God's sake, where's he come from? I don't want this. And, it was weird. And for my mate, my friend now, I do sort of ghost hunts with Barry John and at Newstead. And one of the lads, Shane, who actually helps with these events, I broke my arm in May and for weeks. I struggled and I kept away from paranormal. I couldn't drive. And then he was getting bombarded from this judge at the National Justice Museum. And he was seeing things which were barbaric, which were happening. He sort of said, "What's this?" So I filled him in on it. He didn't even know. And it's twice he's been bombarded. Anyway, I think I'm over time. I got that hint. But thanks everyone for listening. It's so weird.